Good day, seniors. This is an overall summary and overview of the Senior Advancement Project. So, many of you are wondering, okay, what's this new thing? What is it for? Why are we doing it? So, hopefully this gives you a little insight. This is kind of the first step in letting you guys know what this is all about. And for the next month and a half or so, we'll be working on this as a team, and you'll be having some examples and some demonstrations and some resources to help you. First of all, let's go over the purpose. So, as you know, one of the biggest focuses here at Minarets is professionalism. And our students here tend to present over 200 times before they graduate from freshman year to senior year. And the reason is not by chance. The reason is we want to prepare our students to go out into the working world and into college prepared to market yourself, to sell yourself, to argue your idea, to make your point. Because if you can stand up in front of a room or stand up in front of a small group or even one person and articulately lay out your plan or communicate your own strengths, your own growth areas, you are going to be successful. And you can get the jobs you want, you can get into the schools you want, and there's nothing that's going to stop you. So that's the purpose. This is to prepare you for that. It's one last final chance here at Minarets to show everyone, hey, I can do this. This is what I've learned. And so that's kind of the first part of the purpose. The second part of the purpose is similar to the senior legacy experience. So on the SLE, the whole idea is that you have acquired a number of skills, you are passionate about a number of things, and this is the culminating experience that showcases those skills and those passions. Whether you learned it here on site or you learned it doing a hobby that you enjoy or a sport or you work somewhere, those all have shaped you into who you are, and that's what your SLE should be, as you guys know. Well, this is similar. This presentation is a presentation that summarizes and defines your growth process at Minarets from freshman year to 12th grade. Now, if you're standing up there and you give the kind of the same presentation you would have on your PBE freshman or sophomore year, obviously, the growth is not there, or the growth is not showing, right? But we all know that you guys have grown in a number of ways. So this really should be your capstone presentation. Think of it that way. Now, the workload here that we're going to ask you guys to do is truly not very heavy in terms of things you have to produce. The presentation, it's not that many slides, okay? And the content on the slides is not that many. It's really just about you telling your story. And there's also going to be an option to do an animation or video in place of the presentation if you feel more skilled in that area. The resume, guys, there's templates of resumes all over the place, but this is really your opportunity to create a resume, and most of you already have a resume, and really make sure it's beefed up and you know what you're doing before you go off into the real world. And then the cover letter. Also just introducing who you are, where you're going, what you want to do, your goals. That's really important. And then finally at the end, it's just going to be a question and answer session. So all you're going to need to know is a couple of the questions and be prepared to answer them. This is really should be fairly natural for you guys because you're telling your story. You're communicating who you are, where you're going. You're telling about you, and really those are what the questions are going to ask. We're going to ask about your growth and who you are. So let's just talk about the four elements. Now that we've talked about the purpose, let's talk about the four elements of the senior advancement presentation. First, the formal presentation. So I have given all of you a copy of the layout of the project. Okay, you will be getting, after spring break, you will be getting templates that you can follow, and hopefully you don't do that exactly how the template is laid out. Hopefully you do your own spin on it, or you do an animation or video or your own idea. But Those templates will come to you after spring break. Today is just the overall summary. So the first thing, I want you guys to look through it with me. First thing on the formal presentation. So with this whole process, you are going to be graded by a teacher, an administrator or counselor, and a community member. There'll be 3 people. Much like the sophomore PBE, you will be graded on a rubric, and that rubric will be automatically calibrated between the 3 interviewers. It will be very similar to when you guys go in and interview for a professional job for a college or anything like that. So if you've done it already, you know what the deal is, okay? The formal presentation will include a title slide. Like always, you want to make that simple but creative. You want it to pop. When you introduce yourself, I am Dr. Daniel Ching. I need something in the back to really pop and emphasize who I am without being crazy, right? I don't want a rainbow and tie-dye and all that kind of stuff. It should be professional, but it should make a statement. Every slide should make a statement. The first one, my experience at Minarets. Okay. So this is my suggestion to you guys. Actually, this is really not a suggestion. This is an emphasis. On these slides, you really only need a few words, maybe just one word. You should be able to articulate this. So the words on the screen should only, you've practiced in your presentation, should only emphasize what you're saying. They shouldn't be all that you're saying, right? We know that that's what makes a good presentation. So my experience at Minarets. So for me, maybe I would have up there professionalism, activity, fun, skills, maybe those 4 words, I don't know. And I would go down and I would talk about each one. Okay. Same thing on the next view. My personal and professional growth. So the first one's my experience. Overall, give us an overall experience. The third one, my personal and professional growth. So this should be, I started this way, or I was weak in this area, and I really grew to where I am today, or something similar to that. Maybe you don't have to say you were weak in this area, but really emphasize what you're taking away. And again, this doesn't all have to be from your time in classes or anything like that. It could be outside of classes. So tell that story. The fourth one, the story of success. So this is where you're going to have to reach back and think, what's a moment that I could tell a quick story on that really defines my life, my experience, my last 4 years? What's a story that I could tell that, hey, this has really shaped me and it's going to catapult me into the rest of my life and something that I won't forget? And it could be a simple thing. It could be an epiphany in class one day. It could be, a musical piece that you learned and that you or that you composed. It could be an art show. It could be a game. It could be a whole season. It could be what you went through during a school year. You need to tell a story of success. The fifth one, where are you going? So let's go short term and long term on this one, guys. What do you want to do? And if you don't know, if you're not one of these people that, I want to be an engineer, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a firefighter, what do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish in your life? And you can keep it simple. You can make it complex. We just want to know that you've thought about, in general, with your life, what kind of impact you want to make and what you want to do. And then number 6 is, what skills have I learned in my 4 years to help me in the future? And this is where we really should see kind of a short bullet point list of, hey, these are the skills. I have mastered Final Cut Pro. I have become a proficient welder. I have learned several different art platforms that I can go and take out and make art pieces in the real world. I have learned how to market myself. I have learned how to write. All these things, you should be able to list 4 or 5 major skills that you've learned. Personal, professional, what have you learned and what can you take with you? Number 7, this is a personal thing. Who would I like to thank? So this could be, your parents. This could be a friend. This could be teachers. Really, this isn't about like a shout out because those people aren't going to be there. This is really you telling the story of This person had an impact on my life, and this is why they had an impact on my life, and I'm very thankful for them. Because as we've talked about since you guys were freshmen, community is really important, and establishing those connections and relationships is really important. So this slide really it demonstrates your experience, your growth in developing relationships. Who helped you? And how is that going to influence you to help others? And then last is your top project. Okay. This cannot be your SLE. Okay. And if it is, you have to present a very good argument for why. Your SLE, like we talked about, should be your top project. I mean, honestly. But this top project is something outside of that. Okay. So we want you to articulate that. What was your top project? Okay. And then the last thing is, just a send-off. And I've left that open-ended. That's not part of the formal grading. But every good presenter has a good bang at the beginning and a good send-off. So at this point, after you present that, you'll actually be asked some questions. So the panel is going to ask you some questions. So there's 2 questions that every single person is going to be asked. And you're going to have these, and you're going to prep for them. So you're going to have a response already. Okay, and this is part of your practice for an interview. So the first one, how has your experience in high school prepared you for the future? That's a pretty general statement. And so you got to be prepared on that. You can't ramble on. You got to be direct, and you got to point to some examples, because the judges will know that you've had this question. Okay. And then the second one is, what challenges have you overcome, and how has that prepared you to be a successful adult? Okay. It doesn't have to be, something that's super dramatic necessarily, but maybe it is, I couldn't speak in front of crowds when I first got here. Or I was really intimidated by technology. I doubt that's very many of you, but that could have been. Or, hey, I moved here from a faraway town or a state, and I had to adjust. Things like that. And then how has that prepared you? Okay. And then I won't go down the list of questions you may be asked. Okay. But you're going to be asked 3 questions. Those first 2 is for sure you're going to be asked. And the other ones you may be asked. So you need to know, you need to look down this and down this list and be able to respond to each of these. Okay. Some of you see what we're doing here, right? You're having to reflect. And if I were you, I would take all these questions and I would do a written response. I would reflect. Maybe I play some music that makes me reminisce about my high school time. Oh, yeah, this was cool, man. This song, no, something like that. But you look at the list, you write it down, you reflect. How has my experience reflected these questions? So you guys will be prepared for that, all right? So you'll be graded on that as well. And lastly, this is actually kind of the first thing, is you're going to write a resume and a cover letter, all right? So the cover letter actually isn't, I'm going to give you guys a template. The cover letter isn't outlined in this packet that I gave you. But the resume is. Look, there's a lot of different ways to do a resume. You can, honestly, if you go into Word or you go into Pages, there's templates for resumes in there already, okay? But do me a favor. Make it pop, make it unique, make it distinct. Because it's kind of like the PBE, guys. When judges are listening to a PBE and the slides are the same template that was given to the kids and the font is the same and there's like uncapitalized words, and it's very quick for the judges to know, hey, this isn't a professional presentation. This isn't going well. Okay, so make it your own. Research, look it up. You guys have beautiful MacBooks. You can look at different resumes, different styles. I will tell you, you got to keep it to one page at this stage in your life for this particular assignment, and most at your age, you're going to do a one-page resume. Okay. If you look down the list, header with name, address, email, and phone. So that should be at the top. So these templates I'm talking about, usually provide that header for you at the top. So you just need to plug in. I would make the font not crazy. Okay, don't make it like some comic book kind of font, but something bold that sticks out. The objective, and this is specific for everybody. The objective here is, my objective is to advance as a candidate for graduation from Minarets High School. So that's going to be everyone's objective. An objective normally for a job, you say, my objective is to become a manager at blah, 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 blah. Well, this is your objective. Experience, you're going to lay out all your experience. What clubs have you been in? What sports have you been in? What classes do you want to point to that you've been in? Education, all right? So the electives you've taken, your GPA, and then your skills. What kind of skills have you acquired? All right. And we don't have on here references because I think a lot of you are going to have similar references. So if you look at this resume, it's really, really pretty simple, guys. We just want to give this, as well as the cover letter, to the panel prior to that, and they will have that in their hands while you guys present. So this is also going to be done in Miss Mattis's class. So all seniors will be doing this in their Econ and Gov class, whether you're an Ag Econ and Gov or if you're Mr. Kelly's Econ and Gov. And Mr. Kelly and Miss Mattis will both be involved in the process. So nobody's getting out of it. It's valuable for everybody. So, okay, so a couple of things. When are you going to do this and what's the format? Okay, so you guys are going to be doing this presentation, this exercise, in early May. Okay. We are going to send out schedules. You will all have an appointment, and like I said, there will be three panelists, and you'll be graded by those 3 panelists. Okay, so your goal is to have all this prepped by the end of the first week in May. Okay, by the end of the first week in May. And the following week is when you guys will do your senior advancement presentations. Okay. Another thing, for the presentation, if you want to do a narrated animation or video, meaning your voice telling your story based on the criteria that's in front of you at the presentation, you are able to do that. Okay? What you will do, obviously you will still have a resume and cover letter. Obviously you'll still answer the questions. But if your medium for really sending a message leans a little bit more towards the video side of things, or animation side of things, we want you to be able to do that. Now, you have to cover the same amount of things, and you also have to visually, it has to be more stimulating, because with the presentation, you're articulating all this, right? So if you're doing a video, it really needs to tell the story. It needs to show pictures of you, pictures or animations about what you're talking about, pictures that demonstrate what you're talking about. So it is a little bit more challenging. If you are going to do a video or an animation, really important that you talk to me. Okay. The last thing for today that you need to know is this is not going to be something where you have a lot of time in Econ and Gov to work on. Okay. This really is intended for you to prepare outside of class. You guys are professionals. You guys are adults now. So this is homework. Mr. Kelly may allow you to work on this if you have time, but you have pro period, you have home, you have mornings and evenings. Some of you don't have a lot of time, but this is important. And coming from my perspective and Mr. Kelly's, we're slammed and busy as parents and professionals too, as husbands, as fathers, as teachers, as principals, but when something's really important, we have to carve in that time to make it happen. So I know you guys can do it. I'm really excited to see this. Like I said, this is your grand finale presentation. This is the inaugural year, the first year to do it, and I know you guys are going to do a great job. It's important. I hope you guys feel the same way. If you have any questions or concerns, you can talk to me. But best of luck, and we'll be talking to you soon. After break, we'll be sending you out those templates. Go Big, Go Pro, Go Now, and go Seniors.